Hello everyone who's ever liked to cook things that perhaps should not be eaten after you've cooked them. I am BorderWise, and welcome to Flamethrower Basics in From the Depths. So, flamethrowers are part of life now in From the Depths thanks to the big flamethrower update, and I almost forgot to do a tutorial on them because I think we do need one. It's important. Well, it's important if you want to build a flamethrower anyway. So, hopefully this will be very short. My track record isn't that good with making short videos, but anyway. Let's talk about flamethrowers. These things are, if you were to describe them, a nice, compact starter/support weapon. They are ideal for short-range airships and expendable small ships. These are not like, the main weapons you would use on, say, a late-game craft. They have significant drawbacks, which we'll get into later, which can basically be summed up as they don't do damage very quickly, and they have a short range. They are about as specialized a weapon, I would say, as cram cannons, but they don't really have any, specific hard counters apart from there's, things keeping their distance and things being too fast to catch up to and shorten the distance. So it's the range. That's the thing. That's the counter to them. And they need fuel. And the good news about these things is that along with plasma, I do appreciate that the newer weapon systems being added to From the Depths. I don't know if we're getting any more, by the way. That's just a complete mystery to me. They are pretty straightforward. You need three things for your flamethrower, and as you can see, these are all the flamethrower bits. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 blocks in total. Compare that to something like advanced cannons and just how many variants of stuff there is, and it's makes your head spin. So anyway, you need, for flamethrowers, fuel, which you get through fuel tanks. So this is the small one, this is the big one, and that is the raw damage of your flamethrower. You need a lot. The more fuel you have, the more damage the flamethrower will do. The next thing you need is catalyst. Catalysts increase the intensity of the fire that the flamethrower spits out. Intensity means it does more damage to flame-resistant materials, like metal and stone. So, you'll see here, wood has a fire resistance of 10, which is absolutely pathetic. Wood goes whoosh. Stone has a fire resistance of 50, as does... Oh, interesting! Stone has more fire resistance than metal. I wonder when that happened. But anyway, so the more intense the fire is, the more it can actually damage things like stone and metal. So, that is an important ingredient. And then you have oxidizer, which adds oxidizer to the fires ignited by the flamethrower. And what oxidizer does is that increases the armor reduction of the fire created, because that's something that fire does in From the Depths, is that as it damages a block, it lowers its armor count. So, if it drops the health below 50%, the armor is essentially 0, so it's great for softening things up. So, if you want to put it in very plain language, fuel is more more fuel, more damage. More catalyst means it does it does the damage quicker and damages things that it otherwise wouldn't be able to do as much damage to. And oxidizer increases the armor reduction, and also, I forgot to mention, it allows it to burn underwater to a limited degree. Even if you go ham on the oxidizer, you're not going to really do as much damage if you shoot at things underwater with any kind of incendiary weapon, because fires that spread from destroyed blocks won't have any oxidizer added to them and will just immediately go out if they're underwater. So oxidizer is flavoring. It's not the main course, you could say. And there's a few handy things to keep in mind with flamethrowers, one of which is that flamethrowers, you don't need to put them on turret blocks at all. They're very convenient like that. So if I do this, you will see that the top-down connection... let's just get rid of these pipes quickly. Pipes just connect things around. They don't need much explanation. So you'll see that the flamethrower, I guess, mantlet you could call it, can spin 360 degrees and has a pretty decent elevation. Just like it doesn't need a turret at all. And the back connection is like for a more fixed flamethrower, which you wouldn't put on a turret anyway. So very convenient. You don't need to use turrets with them at all. Another thing to note is that the more catalyst and oxidizer tanks you have in your flamethrower, the less fuel you essentially have. Like, it takes up space that could be used for raw damage, so it's a trade-off. Like, do you want the thing to do a lot of damage? Do you want it to do the damage within a reasonable time frame? And do you want the thing to melt things better and soften them up? And do you want it to sizzle underwater? So generally with flamethrowers, I would say mostly fuel. Like, your priority is pretty much how in the order I've listed them. Prioritize fuel, have a fair amount of catalyst, and just a smidge of oxidizer, just for flavor, so to speak. It's like, fuel is the potatoes, catalyst is the gravy, and oxidizer is the spicy pepper, which you don't want to overdo lest you have horrible bowel issues. That's a weird analogy. Another thing to note with flamethrowers is that because it is a gout of fire that spits out of them, so I should probably demonstrate that with a handy demonstration. Let's go here and here. Thankfully, I already have a pre-made flamethrower. Where is it? Here it is. So, we may or may not see it, but flamethrowers are devils for friendly fire, so you'll notice this thing is mounted up quite high on the structure of this particular hydrofoil canoe type thing. And the reason is that if it was too low on the deck, it would probably set the deck on fire, because this gout of flame has width. Did you know? It's it splashes everywhere. So you absolutely need a pretty strict failsafe on the local weapon controller that is controlling the flamethrower, and you absolutely need firing restrictions. It is like non-negotiable. You do need it. And just to show you what this flamethrower in particular looks like, it looks like this. Very convenient, full 360 rotation, zipping back and forth, going absolutely foosh. And to show you, the failsafe here is set to a radius of 3, just to be safe, which mostly gets rid of the friendly fire, but not completely. And the firing restriction on this is just an elevation restriction, and it's just so, you'll see there, it basically matches the superstructure it's perched on top of. Yes, this is technically superstructure. So now that you are cooked, we're gonna park you over there, and we're gonna go over here. Whee! And we should probably build a flamethrower as demonstration. So, let's see here. Haven't worked out the exact math for optimized flamethrower yet, but it's probably something like a ratio of 3 to 1. So 3 fuel, 2 catalyst, 1 oxidizer. So let's just do exactly that. By the way, I forgot to mention the compressors. You need these to essentially pressurize the tanks and like make the flamethrower go foosh. So those are important. You absolutely need these. And you can do about, with the small tanks and the big tanks, it's 2 tanks to 1 compressor will give you the max range of about 400 meters. There was a point in development of flamethrowers where you could use steam engines to kind of pressurize them, but then they found that was kind of hopelessly imbalanced. You could have gigantic tubes of tanks just powered by a simple steam engine, and it was just kind of ridiculous, so that's not a thing anymore. That's just clearing up any confusion. So let us do 1, 2, 3. And the great thing about this is that there's like the Tetris is pretty straightforward. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we want 2 catalysts. So let's do. Hold on, I need to do something like this. So 2 catalysts. So 1, 2, 3. 2 catalysts like so. And 1 oxidizer. Probably need more fuel than this. And I mean in terms of like the tubes we have here. So you can see here how much power this uses, or at least you should be. It doesn't actually say. Never mind. Tell a lie. The tooltips for flamethrowers aren't exactly great because naturally for a person to learn about fire, jumping in here is where they would like learn from it, right? Like add fuel to the fires. What does that mean? Increases fire intensity. What does that mean? Adds oxidizer. What does that mean? I've already explained it, but just so you know, learning from the tooltips in the flamethrower section is not great. So, pretty much, unless you have multiple flamethrowers right next to each other, the 6-way pipe is pretty much all you need. And unless you want... actually, yeah, I probably should use that, really. Because it's a lot tougher. It's like, what's this? 340, 640... Okay, it's not that much tougher. And it's also heavier, so meh. So we can do something like this, and something like this. And so what I like to do in my flamethrower setup is I like to put additional tanks, like, up in this, essentially, cross-section here. And what we can do here, since we're going to do, let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to go with a bottom connection. But there's a very handy trick with flamethrowers. Which is to do with a relatively new thing that can be done with local weapon controllers, and that is to do something like this. And what you do is you... Actually, we could just do that. We could just do that. Interesting. Alright, so here's the trick. All in one local weapon controller. Make sure it is rotated. Whoops, wrong button. Rotated sideways. It is not controlling any weapon. Switch modes. 4 cells left and right. It is now controlling the weapon. Excellent. So this is a reasonably beefy flamethrower. You can make them much smaller than this. In fact, we'll make a tiny one just for demonstration purposes after we're done with this one. So let's do here. What do we want? Let's add more fuel. When in doubt, more fuel. More fuel is good. And I'm just going to prefab this. And just going to stick this hither and thither, like so. And we haven't really got room for anything else here, so when in doubt, probably don't want to stick fuel right next to the flamethrower, because fuel tanks do burn when they get hit. So when in doubt, this is what I always do with empty space. I just stick surge protectors in it. And you do need fuel. You need a lot of fuel for a flamethrower. So where is the fuel again? It's in resources. Let's go here. What do we need? We need... this tooltip also needs to be updated, actually. Like, you need a maximum of X materials per minute for fuel engines, custom jet engines, and also flamethrowers, which say. We need a lot more than that. We need approximately 5 times as much. So 1, 2, 2,000. We need way more than 5 times. Like, yeah. So flamethrowers, this might shock you. They eat a lot of fuel. So just a little bit more. So yeah, like, depending on the flamethrower, you might end up dedicating a huge amount of space to fuel, because this is a lot of fuel. Like I said, this is a beefy flamethrower. You can make them massive, but really they're optimized to be kind of small. So yeah, like, if you're dedicating this much space already to your flamethrower, you might have overdone it a bit. Like, this space could easily handle a pretty decent advanced cannon or cram cannon or a laser or literally any other weapon type. Flamethrowers are kind of best when they're tiny, really. So yeah, that is basically it. Let's see our stats. So what do we got here? Range is 400 meters because we've set this up correctly. By the way, if we do something wacky like this, so if we have a fuel tank, 1, 2, 3, and you'll see here that the let's see here, power uses that. Aha. Interesting, that didn't do it. There is basically the actual range of the flamethrower is the average of the pressure of all tanks. So maybe if I do this, hold on, let's demonstrate here. If I do this now, does that drop the range? It doesn't. What the hell? Does it just do it? Oh no, it just uses more power. Interesting, hold on. Power use is 560. Power use is 160. Okay, cool. We've learned things. Wow, I'm learning things as I'm recording this. You can make these tanks as long as you like. It'll just use a lot more power. Got it. Got it. Maybe I should have experimented a bit more. You go away. We need to cook a marauder. Jesse, we need to cook. Alright, so let's just do that. There's also things you need to tweak. You gotta make sure this thing doesn't waste its time shooting at things underwater. -10 is fine because anything that's sitting down in the water is still technically at negative altitude. Just gotta go to the aim point selection, make sure that it's aiming at stuff above the water, target cluster as blocks. This is another thing. It's best to have the flamethrower just linger a little bit to get a good fire going, and then switch targets. Like between 2 to 5 seconds is probably plenty. You don't want to do more than that. So let us, delicious lettuce, spawn in a marauder. And you'll see up there we've got lovely, lovely damage numbers going. And the great news about this... Oh, I didn't check the intensity. Hold on. So the intensity of this fire is about 35.7, which means it'll actually do pretty decent damage to things made of alloy metal. And it's certainly barbecuing this marauder something wonderful. So that's very, very nice. And so if we turn you off, you'll see the fires are still going, and they just keep going, keep going, keep going, and there's lovely block confetti. So, in the early game, if you're playing on the standard Neater, if you're playing the campaign, rather, against the... and you're just playing with the... Ugh, darn it. I was distracted by the Marauder sizzling wonderfully. If you're playing on the easiest starting position in the Neater campaign, flamethrowers will actually be very useful for you because they're really good against the Deepwater Guard. They're a good starter weapon, as I said. And let's just see how well this does against... Hold on, I need to correct this. Don't retreat when too close. And I want you to get to 300 meters. You want to get a little closer than 400 meters if you're using flamethrower, because you want the flame to reach kind of inside the target if there's a hole. Let's go here. Let's spawn in. What's something made of metal? Ironclads are not metal enough. Let's do a halberd. Wait a minute. Interesting. Oh, right. I'm stupid. It was turned off. So against exposed components, it's actually pretty good. Let's actually see that again. I'm getting distracted simply because I find flamethrowers really fun. So let's do that. You turn off. Stay right where I can see you, thank you. So you can see it's like flamethrowers are not ideal against things made of metal, but like if you get the intensity high enough, they do a lot of damage. They do still do a lot of damage, and they will absolutely barbecue. And here's where the oxidizer comes in handy. It allows flames to kind of spread underwater. Yeah, this is about as big a practical flamethrower as you actually want to get, because this is, like, absolutely melting. Wow, that halberd did not last long. Alright, so now we've seen the big flamethrower. We're going to make a much, much smaller one. I do want to copy this. In fact, I want to copy almost all of this. Hold on a minute. Let's just... Darn it. Let's just do this. And let's do... This is a clever thing you can do sometimes, is just do this. And now I can just shift-delete all of that. And I can make a very small flamethrower. Well, relatively small flamethrower. Alright, so let's just do... 1, 2, 3... And if I do that... You still have a range of 400 meters. Okay, I am so glad I spotted that. It would be very embarrassing. So... This does almost no damage. And also, you can't mix tanks. Can you mix tanks? Nope, you can't. Righty-ho, we could probably do a little better than that. So let's just do this. This is actually great, because let's try and use our same rule as before. Which is 3 fuel, 2 catalyst, and... Whoops. 2 catalyst, 1 oxidizer. Don't memorize that too much. So, what do we got here? We got... Fuel output per second is about 2,160, so it'll do... It won't do that much damage per second, per se. Or maybe it will. But that does give you an idea of, like, what damage you do here. So here's the firepower. Let's see here. I don't go by firepower a lot. It's a little bit misleading, but 13.09, that's decent for something this small. It's nice and compact. Let's see how quickly this barbecues a marauder. Just to finish off the video. Let's go here and do that. And like, this is very quick. Alright, so you see, not going as fast, but still, damage is climbing up quite nicely. And there is a fair amount of block confetti. Please don't aim below the waterline, that's silly. Right, so if I turn you off... It's not always visual here. Alright, so we probably need more fuel for this fire. Maybe the intensity is slightly too high for this one. Yeah, the intensity is a little bit high. We could actually replace a little bit of that with more fuel, because if it burns too quickly, I think it perhaps doesn't spread as fast. Or at least, it doesn't have enough fuel to spread anywhere. But yeah, this is essentially a blowtorch, what I've made right here. This is lovely. So, yeah, that will do for this video. Basic flamethrower. You now know what you need. And, like, just to reiterate again, flamethrowers are actually best used on things that can fly. A little airship or something. A little airship, front-sider, or gunship that can, like, hover over something and just kind of cook it. If you're wondering a good way to make a flamethrower craft, the Pyromaniac up on the workshop, which I've done a video on before, that is actually a pretty darn good example of what you should be going for. It's not perfect, but it's a very good start. Go look at that, it's pretty good. It's where I figured out, well, it's where I learned that you don't need turrets for flamethrowers at all. It's great. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. Support me on Patreon or YouTube membership if you like. It really helps, and there's fun perks in it for you. Thank you to all my current supporters, and I will see you next time in From the Depths. How's the Marauder doing? The Marauder is cooking along nicely. We're eating good tonight. Farewell!